Hi everyone, my name is Zoris, and this is part 4 of the Ultimate Guide to Engineers. So sorry if this video was a little longer to upload than usual. I was competing in the competitions for this season of Terra Mystica, trying to win it, so that's why there is delay. In the last video, so if you remember, we covered town spots in network, and we started to kind of elaborate a strategy, saying that you should start as digger and end as shipper. And in this video, we'll kind of complement this strategy. So what's the ideas here? You see how you manage spades versus shipping. And here we will see in what order you build stuff. So we'll cover that, and then we will look at the cult play for engineers. Engineers, so any factions, because of their peculiarity, they tend to build in a certain order, and some factions are more flexible than others. And engineers have some flexibility in the way they build, but there's also some regularity and some kind of ideal order. So I'll try to give you what I think is their ideal building order, which doesn't mean that they cannot deviate from this path. I mean, engineers are semi-flexible. There are things that they can do in different orders, but that's like the main idea when you play them. First, you will want a temple, and since you're gonna build a lot of dwellings and you're gonna have a strong economy, Earth 1 is usually a no-brainer for engineers. It's the best way to convert resources into points, and engineers are very good at that. Even picking Earth 1, it won't harm their economy compared to a faction that plays for an economic favor, say. And that's one of the reasons it's hard often to play a faction with an economic favor against Engi, because it's going to be hard to win network against them. They can win network while going for Earth 1. So first temple is almost always Earth 1. And then you will want, and there's a lot of flexibility in how you will get that, but you want to get a second temple and 2 dwellings down by the end of round 2. So something like, say, you can build a trading post and a temple, and then a dwelling, upgrade it to trading post, and next turn you build one more dwelling and you upgrade your trading post to temples. It can be done in many different ways, but your general goal is by the end of round 2 you want to have at least 4 structures on the board, and 2 of these structures you want to be temples. And with the 2 favorite childs that you picked, as we already explained, Earth 1 and Earth 2, because the worker here is very, very precious for engineers. It's by far the best income they can get from economic favor. So once you get that, you will want to go for a temple in round 3-4, water 1. So again, Engi are very efficient at building, so point favor are very good for them. They will build a lot of trading posts, so getting water 1 is often very important for them, and you want to secure it early. And also the second temple, it will help you to generate priests, play on the call tract. And I'll come back to this topic, but if you build like your third temple that early as round 3, then you should not hesitate neither to use your priest as workers. Engi needs a lot of workers, so it's something that you can really do. And after that, in round 4-5, then you expand and you build trading posts. So again, this depends a lot of how the track is, right? How the track is when you are able to build your town. But general idea is that once you get this, and so you have by the end of round 3, suppose something like 3 temples and 2 dwellings down. And you want to upgrade these dwellings, to build more dwellings and upgrade them to trading posts, because trading posts is your best building, and now that you have water one, you have all the reason to build them. That's basically the main idea. And then when you get to round 5, 6, that's when you kind of fill up the board. Every trading post and dwelling that you can build, basically you do. You advance shipping by this time. And that's usually when, so round 5, 6, when you get your big buildings. So big buildings, you don't have much of a discount as Engi. You want to get them late most often. It will be more for scoring. And if you get the sanctuary, then you can get Air 1. Engi are one of the few factions that will consistently get the 3 points favor, so you should keep an eye on them. It's often, again, Engis, because of their low building costs, favor tiles are really efficient ways to convert resources into points for them. So that's the first possibility. I mean, the main possibility. And when I pick Engi, that's usually the first plan to come to mind. And sometimes this plan will be different. For example, the second main, which is almost as good building order. So same exact beginning. Go with temple and 2 dwellings for the first 2 rounds. This should always be your goal. And then maybe say there's dwelling round in round 3. Then maybe you want to build 3 dwellings. And by building 3 dwellings, you get to 5 dwellings down, which is kind of the objective. Once you go over 2 dwellings, you want to go to 5, because if you remember well, that's the most efficient setup for Engi. That's when you get the better ratio compared to the vanilla faction in terms of income. And then the difference here in round 4, so often you won't go for the 3rd temple, you'll rather go for a sanctuary and upgrade as much as you can to trading post. It can be a very efficient way to score. If there's a trading post round 4, a trading post event round 4, it can be really efficient in order to score. I'll post the link of game on Snellman where using the strategy, build the sanctuary in round 4, taking water 1 and build 4 trading posts. I think with the trading post bonus, it was huge. It was winning the game straight away. And then the end of the game is where you complete. Usually you're not necessarily gonna do this temple, but maybe you will. If you need stronghold, it's gonna be then again optional. You just fill the rest with as many trading posts and dwelling that you can. Okay, so let's move to our next topic, which will be coldplay with engineers. And coldplay with engineers is not especially complicated. It's never gonna be, well, it's very rarely gonna be your strong points. The only exception maybe is if you're in a game where you can get the 2 key towns and a player don't play much in cult and there's interesting income, maybe then you can aim to play more for the cults. But usually with Engi, you're better to play with your strength. So it will come back to something that most of the tips that I give here in the slides are kind of related to one another. So play with your strengths, and what your strengths is Earth. Basically, because you always get Earth 1 and Earth 2 as favorite tiles, you start on the 3rd spot of the Earth track, and you have to play with this, because Engi, one of the way that they kind of nerf them is by giving them little cult presence, right? Engis, they are the only faction who start with no cult presence at all, and since their 2nd temple doesn't give any priest, that's also one sources of priestless. So by design, Engis are not supposed to be super strong on cults. Again, there will be exceptions to that, because Engi are just such a strong faction, probably stronger economically than they realized when they made them. But which means that they can do a lot of stuff. But most of the time, what you want is to play with your strength, focus on the Earth cult, especially like if there are cult bonuses, it will be very, very good to focus on them, and that's one of the reasons why these events will be very good for Engi, because one way or the other, you're probably just gonna play for one win on the cult, and more often than not, this win will be Earth because you have head start there. So if you can capitalize at the same time on cult income, then it becomes that much better for in terms of call game for Engi. So yeah. However, if there are a lot of incomes on the cult, on the art track, there are art cult on the track, probably your art cult will become very competitive, and you have to remember that you want to win one cult, so sometimes you'll have to focus another one. Maybe it will be air, so there's not much income on air, and there's no witches, there's no faction threatening. Maybe you'll decide, okay, I need to pick earth, to pick air, and usually it will be the track on which you succeed to put the first priest. I would say that's a good general idea. So usually you will be able to put a priest on the space where you're getting up 3 scale, 3 cult steps by putting a priest. So when you first to put a priest on the track, and that's usually where you're going to focus and try to win if Earth is just becoming too difficult. Ideally, you put your priest in Earth, and you have in common Earth and everything as well. I mean, that's the ideal, but if not, you may have to go in air, water, or fire and focus that cult. And one thing you should never forget as Engi, especially if you're going for another temple, as I said earlier, for a 3rd temple early, or for a sanctuary early, cults are not everything. You can always trade your priest for one worker, and Engi is the faction that has the strongest motivation to do that, since they get more out of the worker than any other faction, and they don't get more out of the priest. They just get the same thing out of the priest in the other faction. So converting priests to workers is something that you should always have in the back of your mind when you play Engi. And yeah, as a general rule, I would say that as long as you either have secure cults or know that you're not going to win one further cult than what you have, you should always really consider converting priests to workers. And as soon as you have an income of 2 priests, that should be something also that you keep in mind, because it can really, really turn your economy to do it. I mean, there will be key turns with Engi where you feel you really need workers, and that time, I mean, you have to remember that priests can be used this way. That's very, very efficient. I do it all the time. I think that it's very unusual that I'll play an Engi game where I don't convert at least 1 priest to 1 worker. So yeah, something to definitely keep in mind here. Alright, so let's go to our next topic, and we'll consider the bridge strategy a little. Although, as I said, it's not the main strategy for Engi, and I think it shall never be your go-to strategy. But let's kind of try to find in what kind of game we want to go for. So I'm saying it's never your go-to strategy. And again, you have to remember the number that we've drawn in the part 1 of this video. In Stronghold, you don't have much of a discount. And the other building are so cheap for Engi that you get a very good return on your favorite child building them. So most of the time it's much more efficient to build dwellings and trading posts and focus on expensive bridges to get only a passing for 3 points. So it doesn't mean that you should never build bridges, and we'll talk in a minute on what kind of circumstance you'll want to build in, but it should never be your go-to strategy. But when then should you go for this bridge strategy? And when I'm saying the build strategy, the bridge strategy, I mean that you go for the stronghold round 4. Everything later than that I'll consider to be a different strategy. But the bridge strategy, when you have the stronghold round 4, is when your expansion is limited and there's no possibility to play for network, and that will be often oops, little glitch in the PowerPoint. So that will be often when there's green factions on the board, and that's when you want to that's when your expansion is the most limited, and that's often when you'll have to go to a backup strategy, which will be the bridges strategy. And the other circumstance, which showed it a little early here, is when you've built bridges as a way to expand early on. Often that will be that bridge here that you build to reach the sacks. Because you don't want to advance shipping, and you have the opportunity to build a bridge, get one more dwelling. And this bridge that you've built in order to advance your economy, then it means that it will be a little cheaper to go later for the bridge strategy. So if that happens to be the case, and usually I would say to be very careful with early bridges, because the cost is not people seem often to feel like bridges are not costing anything. Bridges are very high cost, even for the normal faction. When you go for your bridge action, it costs you 3 power, and you could always have converted these 3 power to 3 coins. And I'm always impressed by the fact that people, like, they will do the impossible in order to avoid building expensive trading posts, pay the extra 3 coins for trading posts when they are not next to neighbor. But they don't care about building bridges. But bridges cost you 3 coins in a way, because the 3 power you use, they could be used to get a trading post. So why are we like feeling that, oh, it's so ineffective to build expensive trading posts, but we don't care about building bridges? It's not coherent. So bridges are expensive for the vanilla faction, and it's even worse for engineers. I mean, the 3 power that you use to build a bridge, you can do a lot of stuff with that with engineers. I mean, you can convert it to a worker or 3 coins, and these are very precious. These are resources that you can build a lot with. So because everything is so low cost, right? So early bridge, I will be careful. And yeah, just to complete on this, I mean, if you use Engi's special ability to build bridge using 2 workers, then it's extra expensive. I mean, the 2 workers, you can build so much with 2 workers with Engi. So it has to be really in position where you have like great amount of workers that you're not sure what to do with. And that will often be like if there is cult income of workers, like this one, maybe early on that you were able to catch. Otherwise, so if you go for the bridge strategy, you want the stronghold early, and you'll definitely want to build it on a stronghold round. I would say also if the stronghold sanctuary bonus is in the game, that will be an incentive to play for the bridge strategy. So if you get it in round 4, for example, you want to use it, and it also gives you the workers, the extra workers you need to build bridges. And the last condition, which was shown a little too early here, is if you've missed on favorite child. So usually it's a very efficient way to convert resources out of favorite child, but sometimes you won't be, either you're a 4th player or you went for the double speed because it was very important and you've missed on Earth 1, or everyone rushed Water 1 and you were not able to get it. If you've missed on one of these 2 favorite childs, then maybe bridges get more attractive. The bridge strategy get more attractive. I'll say like one common situation where I will strongly consider going for the bridge strategies if there's a trading post event in round 3 and I have the trading post bonus. So the idea is that then maybe you want to skip water one. Build your trading post, build 2 trading posts, say in round 3. Score from the trading post bonus, and then you can jump, or even maybe more than 3 trading posts. I mean, trading posts are cheap and efficient for Engi, and if you can build a town and get workers out of it, it can be very, very rewarding. Yeah, in that case, and then there's this round 4 sanctuary stronghold, and ideally, like, you pick the stronghold sanctuary bonus, and then the bridge strategy is just so much attractive. So yeah, you've missed or on one of these 2 favorite tiles, or you choose to miss out of them, like the trading post bonus, because you've decided it was worth making them early. Then bridge strategy becomes more attractive. Okay, so what my relation to bridges, what does it look like? I like to think of bridges more as an afterthought, okay? In kind of a circumstance where you have already a good game and just a way to add some more points, just one more way to convert resources into points. You have, like, say, an overkill economy, and it really needs to be converted to points, especially workers from cult income if you have this, and that will be more like round 5 or 6. So that's not the main strategy. You will have a good game even without it, but that's just one way in order to improve your score. So that's not the focus, that's not what you're thinking all game. You're not saying, oh, I need room to put my bridges, where will I build bridges, when will I build bridges. That's not how you should think most of the time as Engi. You should focus on playing your game, expanding, getting the key hexes, building, getting 5 favorite tiles, winning a call, and only when you've done all that, then you can start considering in round 5 or 6, is it time to build bridges? Is it time to go for the build strategy? Do I have the economy to do that? That's usually how I think about it, and I think that that's, for most of people, will be a much more efficient way to play engineers. So for the bridge strategy, I would think don't go for the bridge strategy, go for a strong economy. Once the strong economies they are down, consider if building stronghold and bridges is the best way you have right now, or the last way maybe you have in order to convert your resources to points, and then I think it's worth it. So that's, I think, most of the games how you should approach the building of bridges. Okay, so I hope that's not too much of a disappointment. I know people love bridges. They want the bridge strategy to work, and if they see an Engi game where Engi make the bridge strategy work, that's just amazing, and they will be like very admirative of that. But I don't know exactly why, but there is this fascination with the bridge strategy, and I think if you want to get your game with an M to the next level, you should learn that cannot be your go-to strategy. You have to use it more often than not, use it as an afterthought. Okay, so that will complete this video. We've covered the ideal building orders, the call play, and the bridges. So that's kind of the core of the strategy for Engis. And in the next video, we'll go into how you should set up all that. So the main openings for Engi. So thanks for listening, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye bye.